Craig, I have a question for you.
What's up,
If
Justin?
there was any piece of software in the world that you had to rebuild from scratch, what would be the worst piece of software to rebuild from scratch?
Oh God. Um, probably something like mission critical, heavily regulated, like lots of
Yeah.
like historic edge cases. Um, like I would hate to rewrite QuickBooks or like an account like a general ledger system, but I've
Oh,
like we've rewritten like students SIS systems. We've rewritten healthcare systems, but I man, I would probably say a payroll system is the final boss. Like bad boss, like
payroll
every
system might be the final bad boss. You're
yeah,
right. You're
payroll
right.
system. I don't want to
That
rewrite a
one,
payroll
if you make a mistake, that one kills you. That one
system.
kills you.
Different regulations, state to state. Everything. Oh, what a nightmare! I'm getting hives just
Absolutely.
thinking about doing it. Please
Oh, don't rebuild your payroll software, folks.
do
Don't.
not contact me about building payroll software for you. There you go. There's a good cold open. Am I right? I think payroll software,
You're right. I think it's a perfect one.
well, like
That's awesome.
statewide, state like a state like insurance system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ugh. Welcome to Leap Scale. My name is Justin Davis, and I'm here with my esteemed co-host.
I'm Greg Ross Monroe.
And this is the podcast where we help service businesses go beyond the headcount ceiling, find ways to make it better, make it make more money without having to just hire more wage slaves every day, and how to specifically use technology to do that. And today we're going to cover a little thing that many of you listening to this may never have heard this phrase, but it is one that holds immense power, sounds very boring, but is actually very cool. It's a thing called middleware. And it is this kind of secret technology glue that can really hold the secret to transforming your business from one that's kind of still schlepping stuff from app to app and manually putting things together and feeling like everything is very hard to feeling like all of a sudden something is really working with you, not against you.
So
Um,
this is not something you wear on top of your underwear in between
right,
your
right.
hair.
This is not a new category of garment.
Okay. Yeah. No, I've heard of it. I've heard of it. I can have an intelligent conversation about this, I believe. I think that
So middleware. So let's frame the problem up real quick and then we'll talk about it. Here's the problem in a nutshell. Let me give a quick example of the problem. So you run a service business, you use payroll software, for example, that you don't want to rebuild from scratch. Or you might use an ERP software, you might use a routing software, something specific to your business that makes your business kind of go. It's one of the pieces of software that you're in all day long. As you look at scaling your business and doing more interesting things with technology, you may say, well, I need the data from that system. I need to do this thing with it. I need to be able to, when invoices come in and they're late, I need to get them over to these people who will follow up and kind of to create these automations that can help to scale your business. The problem is that those pieces of technology, that payroll system, that routing system, whatever it was you're using, you may not be able to, and in most cases, you won't be able to change it. You are beholden to what that vendor is going to give you. So if you want to do something special, if you want to bring some superpowers to your organization, what do? If you can't build on top of their software, you could rebuild your payroll system or rebuild your routing software, but that sounds like a horrible, expensive thing to do. There are some times when you might want to rebuild a piece of core software. We'll talk about that. But in a lot of instances, what you're really looking for is something that sits in the middle. And that's where middleware comes in.
yeah, I mean, I would say that a lot of those systems are going to be industry specific to your business. There's like, I mean, uh, there'll be a system out there for lawn care management. There'll be a system out there for uh, attorneys. There'll be a system out there for CPAs. There'll be a system out there for um, you know propane delivery companies. So those core systems are also shared, I think, by most of your competitors as well.
Mhm.
And I think one of the problems with with having, like, it's great that we have SaaS systems and you don't have to build your own software for your business every single time to run it.
Mhm.
But the problem is it kind of limits your creativity, right?
Mhm.
If you're in the system all day long, you're like, okay, well, there's this other thing I want to do. I've got this cool idea. I want my customers to be able to talk to I want like them to use a chatbot to like book, um, a uh, book us to come do landscaping or whatever. I don't know. And I'm gonna have to build that in some system outside of my day to day scheduling software because doesn't it doesn't have that feature.
Mhm.
It doesn't have a chatbot built into it. And I think that anything that you anything that that company does, if like you're waiting around or you send them, if you send like Lawnworks, I don't know if that's a real company or not, but like lawnworks.com, and you spell with an X, lawnworks.com, um .io, there we go, sorry. If you send them a message saying, hey, it would be really cool if you guys added a chatbot, an AI chatbot where I could talk to, where my customers could like send us messages and it could like answer that, and they do it, they're like, oh, that's a great idea, and they take that idea and they make it a feature. Every single one of your competitors now has that same feature as well,
Yeah.
so there's no competitive advantage. So okay, so Justin, I come to you and I say, look, I have this piece of I have this piece of software that I run my business on, but I really want to do all the stuff that like to give me a competitive edge in either automation or um, you know customer service or something like that. And I've got all these cool ideas, but like, I'm like hampered by this. Do I have to rebuild the thing, or how do I go about like building alongside of it?
Yeah. So this is where middleware comes in. And before I jump into that point, I just want to kind of underscore the kind of overall thesis here, which is that as a service company, right? Like, generally speaking, at some level, it's not true and it is true, but the thing that you deliver, the service that you actually deliver, may or may not be close to commodity status. If you may be able to do it a little better than somebody else, right? But there are a lot of people that sort of offer the same service, and so one of your ways to compete as a service company is in how you interact with your customers, how you serve them, the interfaces conceptually through which they go to interact with you. And that's where you can really set yourself apart. So if you don't want to
Or
rebuild
just
it,
being more efficient and being more profitable.
or just being more efficient and being more profitable. Right, right. And just spending less time pushing paper around. So you don't want to rebuild the whole thing. What you want to build is a piece of software. Kind of imagine it like this. You've got this big old hunk of machinery that is your payroll system or your whatever system, your industry specific thing. You're going to build
And
a
a box, and I can't touch it. I can't like go and it's like the engine of the hood is
right.
sealed, is welded shut.
It's welded shut. You can't get into it. Can't change how it works. Right. The best you can do is you can put some things into it, and you can get some things out of it. Sometimes you can do that via a thing called an API, application programming interface, which allows you to kind of tinker with the engine without opening it a little bit,
Like
basically.
it's got some like wires coming out of the hood that you can
Right.
like
Yeah.
pry.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's all you can't touch the engine, but you can stick things into the wires.
Right. So what we're going to build is we're going to build
Is this a good metaphor? I think this metaphor works. I'm okay with it.
and actually is I think a decent
Yeah.
metaphor.
Okay,
Actually.
wires into the sealed hood of the engine. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's okay. So now you can
Glad you're
remotely
coming with me on this.
control it.
Yeah.
Right? You can't change how it functions, but you can remotely control its functions that are already built into it, basically. Um, and so what you're going to build is another little engine, a little side engine that is probably smaller than the other one, probably much more simple, but it's the thing that hooks up to those wires or takes that data and is the thing that now because you can open the hood of this one, you can decide for that engine to do whatever you want. That thing can notify customers. It can provide support. It can do whatever you want it to do, and it can pull things out from your other systems and combine them together. This is also very useful in a situation where you might have two systems that need to to you need data from both of them in order to do something, right? And now we talked about this on an episode that I believe was published before this one about MCP, where we talked about needing to say take payroll like timesheet data and combine it together with time tracking or with data about tickets or work order data in something like Harvest and Jira, and using MCP, which is just using APIs to combine that data together using AI. Same idea, right? You build this little piece of middleware that now you can control, and then you can hook it up to all these other little engines you have running that you can't get into, but they have the wires hanging out of them. Now you've got this thing in the middle, it's controlling it all. And now that you can start to build your own functionality into.
Yep.
And
And
that is where it gets really interesting, because that's where you can start to build IP and encode your competitive advantage in that middle engine.
yeah, what's cool about having middleware, like a middleware first build kind of build policy, is if you do decide later down the line to rebuild some other part of your system, you only have to rebuild like bit by bit, a small chunk. So like if the sealed hood continuing metaphor here is a accounting software, an ERP piece of software specifically for your industry, designed specifically for you. And there's a ton of that. You um you like most of it, like most of it's okay, and you've built this middleware piece so that you can have an AI. I'm just going to go with AI chatbot as though
Yeah.
the de facto thing that people want to build today. I want to build an AI chatbot that my customers can go and talk to and say like, when's my next service or something like that, and it'll be like, yeah, it can tell you because it's hooked up to that system. But if that uh, accounting software or ERP, whatever it is really good at like 90% of stuff. Like you really like how it handles your accounting, but the way it handles, like it's got like a marketing module for building landing pages, but it just sucks.
Yeah.
Like that you hate it. You can rebuild like the landing page module, right, in custom code or using something else and have it tacked on to the middleware system, or you can have it as a separate system. It doesn't matter. But then you have complete control over that and that additional module, and you can stop using the large, you know,
Mm.
SaaS system for that one piece. And yeah, that if you do that enough times, that piece of software becomes less and less valuable, and more it sounds like more and more it you could make an argument for replacing the whole thing. I would not suggest that in every situation because a lot of the time something's an industry standard because it's an industry. There's a reason for that, and these
Yeah.
things are difficult and big to build. But it does if you do want to like replace something eventually and build your IP on that. Building with middleware first on your existing systems, if you're an existing business, is a pretty good strategy.
Yep. Yep. I agree. And there's something about that too, that also represents potentially, and quite honestly, this is how a lot of product companies get built is a service company rebuilds part of their software or builds a little piece of software that is an adjunctive piece of their main software stack. And
Yep.
then they build it more and more. Other companies like them have the same problem. They're out having cocktails. A buddy of theirs says, "Oh, can we try that with our company?" Yeah, let me see if I can get it to where you can use it. All of a sudden, you have 5 people using it, 10 people using it, start charging for it. All of a sudden, you're a product company now. And so you can evolve that thing as you replace more pieces. You start to build this piece that is no longer just this like little side engine, but it has become this thing of its own that other people also might pay for. And
Yeah.
what, yeah,
So I mean, I think that the question is where do you need the smallest amount of automation or the smallest thing that moves the needle first?
mm,
You know, and build that first. Build that first. Like, and then your middleware doesn't need to do like 500 functions day one. Build like a small thing, test it out,
yep,
and then go from there.
yep. And for what it's worth, like things like Zapier and 8N are, in a way, middleware as a service. In some
If they integrate with
if they
your
integrate with your thing, right?
with your thing, yeah.
So that's another thing to discuss and talk about, which is okay. Do all of the engines have the wires hanging out of them? Does my engine have wires hanging out that I can hook into it and do stuff?
Yeah, so I mean, the easiest way for you to answer that question is go type in lawnworks.ai and then into Google space API.
Yeah.
Or
Whatever your software name is.
whatever your software name is, followed by the words API, or like um, developer's guide or something like that.
Mhm.
And if nothing comes back, phone them and ask them if they have, give them a
Yeah.
call or send them an email and ask them if they have this. Um, if they don't, there's nothing you can do. But like most, I'm I'd be very surprised. Like older systems, like really old systems, I think may not have that. But even like old clunky things have generally had some sort of API layer like scaffolded onto them. In my experience, I don't know if you've found that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think usually because there's an expectation nowadays that like your data is mobile. And I think that that's a thing that as a business, if I'm shopping for software and I'm looking for a new ERP system, I'm looking for a new payroll system, I'm looking for a new QuickBooks or routing system or industry specific thing that I use, I'm going to consider APIs and the ability for me to get my data in and out of the system easily as a requirement and something that I want to see.
Yeah.
And you should look at that because being able to build things onto these systems is what is going to give you the real power.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Actually, I may go back on my original thesis there, which is that if you contact your vendor and they don't have an API, that's probably a good sign that it's time to switch.
Yeah, that's
It's like-
probably a good time that you should maybe start looking for a new vendor. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think I stand by that. Unless you're involved in like a specific service industry where there are only two of you. There's you and your competitor, and there's one vendor. Then it might be time to start thinking about becoming a software engineering company,
Becoming the vendor. Right, right,
becoming the
right.
vendor, right?
Yep.
Just like own all the IP, go
Yeah.
get a private equity company to sponsor it, and just become a monopoly. But like most people are not in that position. Most people have a piece of software or running their company off a piece of software.
Right. Yeah. And I think there's like a kind of a philosophy about this. And this is getting a little bit off the main thread here, but I think it is important that you think, especially now in the age of AI, that you think about your data as an asset that your company is generating. And sometimes this is referred to as data exhaust, or just the core data itself. But that, and I realize people say this, data is an asset, but I don't think people understand what that really means. What that means is your list of customer phone numbers, your list of customer addresses, your list of orders, your data about how you do your routing, your services, your status of your systems, whatever it is. If that data can't be taken out of the things that you have it in and put somewhere else or used in other ways, that data is not really your data anymore, right? And that is a piece of value that you are losing as a company because you're unable to use that very unique piece of information that you've created as a business. If you can't access it and do stuff with it, it's a major, it, more and more especially, it's a major limitation in your ability to do really innovative, interesting things.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that people should know that there are a couple ways to go about doing this. Like if you wanted to start tomorrow, right?
Mm.
You, okay, I'm sold. My software that I run has an API. I want to build my chatbot, right? Thing. I'm gonna hire a developer or a consultant or somebody, or like there's somebody technical in my company. Um, I need to build some sort of connection to the system out of the
Yep.
box that it comes with. I've got a couple of choices, I think. You can maybe there is something like a make.com, an N8N, even a Zapier that connects with it already.
Mhm.
That is a really good thing to go and search for first. See, like, hey, does Lawnworks? I don't know. I'm going back to Lawnworks. Cannot stop myself. Like Lawnworks already has a Zapier integration. Great, go that route for the first time, or an N8N or make.com. That would be, I think, the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit, easiest thing for you to experiment with. It's
Yep.
probably going to be a tiny bit brittle, to be honest.
And you
these
won't be able to do complex things. You'll be able to do kind of short chain automations, but not anything terribly interesting, probably.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you won't be able to kind of get um like deep insights that are like data backed or anything like that. You'll be able to, and it might be a bit slow as well, depending on.
Mm.
But if you're looking for automations or things that run on a cycle, those things are perfectly fine. Probably
Mhm.
not, probably harder for like real time chat. And
Yeah.
then like what's on the far extreme of that? Like if that's the like lowest hanging fruit, I would say think something like MuleSoft is
Mhm.
is like the enterprise grade 900-pound gorilla. MuleSoft is a company that got bought out by Salesforce, and you create an account. You go in. If you're like a MuleSoft expert, you can like connect it to APIs. You can transform them, and you can add data governance. And you can say, "Here's the input, and here's the script that I want you to call." And you, it's expensive and complicated, and very powerful. And if you're an enterprise service company, you should probably be looking at MuleSoft
Yep.
for like you're not going to get fired for buying MuleSoft. But uh, I'll kind of kick it back to you then. If if Zapier and N8N and Make.com are kind of brittle, I don't want to say Fisher Price, but they're like an entry like level tools that can do some things. And MuleSoft is the giant 800-pound gorilla. What's the solution in the middle?
Yeah, you can. I mean, the solution in the middle is you can build your own little custom piece of software that you know can be way less complex and demanding than the MuleSofts of the world. Can be tuned specifically to exactly what you need it to do, so it doesn't have to be as expensive. Um, and is something that is now becomes kind of an asset you invest both capex and opex into on an ongoing basis. It really becomes part of the portfolio and IP of your company. So that's another way to do it, is build that custom little piece of software. And there's lots of different ways to do that. Certainly hiring a software company or like using something like Replit or whatever to prototype something and get something working is a way to do it. But yeah, that's kind of the middle ground there.
Yeah, I think that for most people who have access to software developers, that's going to be a good choice.
Mhm.
Um, it's probably kind of your second choice of experimentation once you kind of hit that upper bound of whatever the out of the box stuff can do.
Yeah.
And I think most people, unless you work for like a giant enterprise and you listen to this, you probably don't need MuleSoft,
Yep.
and it's going to be too heavy.
Yep.
Okay, so Justin, I've hooked up my I've got a little piece of middleware, custom middleware that has allows me to connect to my uh my software that runs my law firm,
Yep.
and it's got my customer data and my client data in it, and it's got billing data. Let's not put like legal information in there yet.
Sure.
And now I've got like this little portal that I can make calls to. What kind of things could I do to it? So what can I?
I mean, you can think about anything interesting that you could do with clients and billing, right? Now you're like, oh, my invoicing software only allows me to just send out one invoice, but I'd really like to be more creative, and I would like to do a thing where I can invoice you 10 times, or I can invoice you only if this one thing happens, or if you can, mail me a snail in the mail, and then when I receive it, I'll send you an invoice, right? You could have all these crazy rules about how you wanted to do stuff, and the other software probably can't support that, right? You might be able to build small billing dashboards or reporting dashboards and say, let me look at trends across different clients and compare on different aspects than maybe your default reporting might allow you to inside of your billing software. So even just hooking up those simple little data, there's lots of things that you can now start to enable. Really anything that takes that data and uses it.
Yeah, and if you want like if you want AI involved as well, that's probably maybe at this point. I think we've talked about this before. Maybe that stuff doesn't get exposed that much to the outside world. Like for internal tooling, it's like super useful.
Yeah.
Then you can have an admin or the like attorney themselves can just type to the thing like, "Hey, who are my top 20 clients of this year of 2026? I want to send them all a gift, and I want you to list them out, and then based on what you can research on them. Recommend a gift for each one. Like you could do
Yep.
something like that,
Yep.
which would be
100%.
kind of awesome, actually. We should,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of.
That's,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
I mean, that's it. So you can, yeah, it just enables you to do just a huge amount of things that and again, I think becomes the IP of your company. I also think that like as we go into a world where AI is going to become more and more of an engine of every business,
Yeah.
that and we've said this before many times on the show, and we'll say it many times again, the data that you have is the real fuel for AI that makes it interesting. And getting your data both cleaned and organized and consolidated into one place is so important for being able to use AI to do interesting things like what you just talked about. And I almost would make the argument that anybody who wants to play seriously in this new AI revolution, as it were, it probably makes sense to start thinking about what is the middle place, the neutral spot where I can pull everything together and then put the AI on top of that so it has a full view of my business, not putting it on top of these siloed systems.
Yeah. That I think that's an excellent point. And if you're trying to work out like ideas for how to do that, or like what you should be maybe focusing on, what's even possible. One thing that you can use MuleSoft for, that they because they're so huge. Go to their website and look at their case studies. Go
Mhm.
like, because you don't need MuleSoft to do things like MuleSoft.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, 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 yeah.
they, they have case studies for all sorts of businesses out there, and you can go and
Yep.
read through them and say like, oh wow, and like that'll give you 20 ideas. You don't need a
A great
fancy,
idea.
yeah.
That's a great idea. Look at case studies. Yeah, it's a fantastic idea. Yep.
Um, okay. So if like, so we're saying if your entire business is run on, or your competitive advantage is based on like the same software that all your competitors have, uh, and it's just the rest is all like tribal knowledge or whatever you've got, then that is pretty fragile. And you
Yep.
should try and like start thinking about how you can take that data with your knowledge, get it somewhat at least freed from that system so that you can do something interesting with it and build a competitive advantage or an IP strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really an overarching big global strategy that you can take for your entire enterprise. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, my friend. And thank you,
Yes.
everybody, for listening or watching, whatever you're doing. And we will see you again soon.
All right. Very good. See you guys.
Bye.